3 new members of Parliament, including former Deputy Chiefs of Staff at the Office of the President, Honorable Francis Asenso-Boakye, Member of Parliament for Bantama, and Honorable Samuel Abujinapo, the Member of Parliament for Damongo, took their turns at the vetting process currently ongoing in Parliament. Another new legislator who faced the 26-member committee was the Member of Parliament for Hohoe, Peter John Amewu, who is the sole MP from the Volta region on the ticket of the New Patriotic Party. Honorable Peter Amewu, for his part, had been a minister during the first term of office of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, superintending first the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and then later the Ministry of Energy. Honorable Samuel Abujinapo, Minister-designate for the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, was the first for the day and lasted well over 3 hours, fielding questions on topical issues concerning his sector ministry, including illegal mining, popularly called galamsey, land tenure and administration, and the phenomenon of land guards, among others.
We all will acknowledge that in every government and in every dispensation, when you are rolling out policy or implementing policies, especially when you are dealing with very intricate, complicated areas such as illegal small-scale mining, you will have problems. There's absolutely no two ways about that. I have taken time to understudy a lot of the literature, and it is clear that when Honorable Yunus Afuseni was Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, he encountered a lot of problems. And he will admit it. When my uncle Alhaji Collins Dauda was Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, he encountered a lot of problems. When Honorable Peter Amewu went into the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry, similar problem. Honorable was much, it's not an exception. So I want to agree with you, Honorable Member, that in such crusades, in such fights, you will come across challenges. You will come across stumbling blocks. We all know it. It happened under NDC. It's happening under MPP. You have party people, you have big wigs who want to frustrate the situation. But what is important, and what I can say without a shred of equivocation, is that the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, is absolutely committed to making an impact in this illegal small-scale mining industry. His policies were rolled out in the first term, and indeed, there were some achievements. There were some challenges. If I get the opportunity, my instructions from the President are very clear, that I should go there and keep my head focused and work hard to ensure that we reduce the incidences of illegal small-scale mining in our country. Mr. Chairman, look, anywhere you have extractive industry, here we call it galamsey. In South Africa, they call it zama-zama, and it's a big issue in South Africa. You talk to the Minister for Mines in South Africa, you admit that illegal small-scale mining is such a big issue for them. So, yes, I agree with the Honourable Member's assessment of the fact that you will have people in your own party and in chiefs and so on and so forth trying to frustrate the situation. But I want to give a firm assurance that I'm very clear in my mind that if I get the approval from this House, I am moving in there, and I'm not just talking. I'm moving in there to, in all humility and modesty, apply the law without fear or favor. That if I don't do that, I will set myself for failure.
For his part, the Bantama MP, Francis Asenso-Boakye, who is designated as Minister for Works and Housing, also shared his opinion and vision on his sector, especially on issues relating to affordable housing, drainage projects and flooding.
My predecessor said about the need for adequate funding is right, in the sense that our drainage system, as we have now, were built many years ago, and most of them have outlived its usefulness because of population increase, urbanization, and what have you. But in the absence of funds to tackle these structural measures, re-engineering of our drainage system, there are certain short to medium-term measures that we can also take. For instance, we have to embark upon the annual program of desilting excavation and dredging of the major channels that lead to Odo and Kole Lagoon and those places that are the flood-prone areas. The Cycling project is a very important project. It was meant to decongest the city of Accra. And I want to take this opportunity to commend the initiator. It was a very good project. I've received a briefing, full briefing of the matter, and my major preoccupation is simple, is to see to the early completion of the project. We cannot allow the taxpayers' money to go to waste. And that is my major preoccupation. When I get the nod, I'll put a team together to advise me on the various financing options that will be needed to get the project going. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hohoe MP Peter Amewu, who heads to the Ministry of Railways Development, when given the approval, also shared his thoughts on the development of the local railway network, as well as on his time at the Energy Ministry. The vetting continues today.
I want a railway sector where my people from Hohoe can move from Hohoe and come to Accra and undertake their activities, those who want to work here, and then go back within a period of 2 hours. I want a railway sector where traffic density of our road will gradually migrate onto the railway. I want a railway sector that will give a credence or an advantage to lasting durations for our roads. Currently, the traffic density of our roads, the lifespan of most of these roads, are 3 to 4 years. And we spend a lot of money on rehabilitation process of these roads. I want a railway sector that will migrate, these difficulties. A sector that will begin to have a multiplier effect on the growth of this country. That is how I see the railway sector.
The arrival of a batch of 600,000 AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccines at the Kotoka International Airport in Accra on Wednesday may have signified hope for millions of Guineans, especially for the over 6,000 active carriers of the dreaded coronavirus. According to the Minister-designate for Information, Kojo Ponkruma, COVID-19 vaccinations will be conducted in phases among segmented populations. He said the first segment of the population that will receive from the 600,000 doses will be health workers, adults 60 years and over, people with underlying health conditions, frontline executive, legislature, judiciary and their related staff, frontline security personnel, some religious leaders, essential workers, teachers and other personalities in Greater Accra Metro, including Ewutu-Senya and Ewutu-Senya East in the central region. A similar segmented population in the Greater Kumasi Metro and Obuasi Municipality will also be covered. From 2nd March 2021, the COVID-19 vaccines will be deployed in health facilities and designated centers in these geographical regions, according to the Information Minister. With the imminent rollout of the vaccination program, NET2 TV News sought the views of a cross-section of the public at Medina on whether or not they will take part in the vaccination program when it commences.
If we say, and see, I had some say, and for 4 months, or my was about 500 I was a vaccine a year. It's a me rescue my life. Now, some corona, some come more, and I know some anything. They're convinced, say, me one. Let's say, my say, and I'm at my war. I mean, for Wama. Bibia cock bokwa shame your moi or my okay for some time. It's in a chank crack. So move one say yente as somebody be a builder. Now,
yes, I think I'll definitely take it because as you can see from other countries and whatnot, people are taking it, and then it's not like if you take it, you shouldn't wear your mask or still go by protocols, but at least there's an additional step that the government of Ghana is taking so that it can help the people in the general public and around the world?
Oh, yes, definitely. If I have the opportunity, I'll definitely take it. Because the vaccine, all of us know, is to just boost our immune system against the coronavirus. So I think it's even a very good opportunity for me to be given the vaccine, because at least I'll know that I have something that is protecting me against this deadly virus. So I think it's good for me. Anytime I'm called upon to take it, I'll gladly accept it.
I believe the vaccine has to do with boosting our immune system and then preventing the COVID-19. So far, I've done that part of the boosting of my system, eating well and all of that. So if it's not compulsory, I might go on with what I am doing until I'm exposed to it, and then maybe I take it. But if it is compulsory, I'll just have to study what happens with the first batch of the vaccines, since the frontliners are going to take them, because there was so much drama or so much anxiety we were getting from social media from the other countries who had taken the vaccines. So with that, I have some kind of fear because of the things I saw on social media. So if we should have any funny cases with the people who take the vaccines, then I will not.
Information has not been really put on the vaccine about the negatives and the positives. We've not really had enough sensitization education on the vaccine. So on my point, I don't see the safety as a year. So I think if there was more education made on the vaccine, it would have made it easier for maybe for my part and maybe other people to take the vaccine. So this is my message.
Final closing addresses by the litigants in the ongoing 2020 presidential election petition trial have been submitted at the Supreme Court on Wednesday. For his part, the petitioner, former President John Dramani Mahama, has urged the Supreme Court to uphold his presidential election petition and nullify the Electoral Commission's declaration that President Nana Akufo-Addo won the December 7, 2020 presidential election. In his closing address to the Apex Court, lawyers for the defeated NDC candidate argued that the evidence on record, including the EC's own declaration on December 9, clearly showed that no candidate obtained more than 50% of the valid vote cast to be declared president-elect as prescribed by Article 63, Section 3 of the 1992 Constitution. The lawyers therefore urged the court to uphold the petitioner's case and order the EC to organize a runoff between former President Mahama and President Akufo-Addo. The closing address was signed by Mr. Tony Letha, one of the lawyers of the petitioner. The second respondent, President Nana Akufo-Addo, for his part has described the 2020 presidential election petition as frivolous and has subsequently urged the Supreme Court to dismiss it. In their closing address, his lawyers argue that the petition, filed by former President John Dramani Mahama, discloses no course of action because it does not meet the criteria for a presidential election petition as stipulated in Article 64, Section 1 of the 1992 Constitution. According to the lawyers, former President Mahama was not contesting the validity of the propriety of the conduct of the election, but rather the declaration by chairperson of the EC, Mrs. Jane Adukwe-Mensah. They argue that even if the declaration by the chairperson of the EC was wrong as the petitioner alleges, it did not mean that President Akufo-Addo was not validly elected. Relying on a case between Roger Metal Nunu versus the EC in 2007, they argue that the Supreme Court held in that case that a challenge to a declaration did not mean the election itself was invalid. They argue that a challenge to the declaration by the EC was not a criteria for a presidential election petition. In view of that, President Akufo-Addo's legal team is urging the court to dismiss the petition on the grounds that the petitioner failed to invoke the presidential election petition jurisdiction of the court under Article 64, Section 1 of the 1992 Constitution. Lawyers for President Akufo-Addo also urged the court to dismiss the petitioner's claim that no candidate obtained more than 50% of the total valid vote cast as stipulated by the Constitution, and therefore the court should order a rerun. Strangely, petitioner has refused to produce any contrary data, but has rather sought to rely on those of first respondents, EC, the close senators added.
Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire have agreed to form a joint committee to find a lasting solution to security challenges faced by cocoa farmers along with the southern part of the shared border of the two countries. Ghanaian cocoa farmers who farm across the Tano River are often accosted by irregular Ivorian paramilitary forces when they are ferrying their harvest inland. Cocoa farmers report falling victim to the activities of the irregular Ivorian forces, who extort the farmers or seize their cocoa beans. The agreement to form a joint committee was reached when Ghanaian officials hosted their Ivorian counterpart in a meeting at Half Asene in the Western South region on 24 February 2021. The delegation from Ghana was led by the Chief Executive of the Ghana Cocoa Board, Honorable Joseph Boahin Edu, and made up of officials from Cocoa Board, members of the Regional Security Council, and border security agents. The Ivorian delegation was constituted by the Deputy Director General of Le Conseil du Café Cacao, Dr. Kofi Ngoran, their National Land Forces General, and other members of various security agencies, and a regional minister for agriculture. The joint committee will be tasked to work with all stakeholders on both sides of the border to fashion an enduring solution to the problem, which has been in the area for decades. The farmers have been traumatized for decades, hence the need for this urgent meeting with our Ivorian counterpart, Honorable Boahin said after the meeting. This is not a new problem, but it has been escalating of late, and for us in Ghana, we see it as a national security issue. So the National Security Minister and the President have been made aware, and for the first time, major steps are being taken to stop the illegal activities and give the farmers peace. He added that the Ivorians admitted to having been made aware of the activities of the paramilitary forces. Many Ivorian farmers have also reported similar encounters with the forces. They gave the assurance that in the immediate term they will conduct a thorough cleanup of the border and crack down on the criminal elements. The Ghanaian Marine Police will also be conducting regular patrols of the Ghanaian side of the Tano River to check criminal activities.